Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, December 28th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's been a very, very busy day, and we know today is the third day of Kwanzaa also, Ujima, which means collective working responsibility. So I'm going to play another excerpt of the presentation that I did at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History on Tuesday, December 27th for the second day of Kwanzaa, Kuchi Chakalia. But before that, there was a story that I saw a couple of days ago. And Black Enterprise, well, actually BET had an article on this, as well as Good Morning America. And this is about some African-American college students, African-American female college students at Mary Baldwin University, who organized a Black baby doll drive. And for Christmas, they handed out over 300 Black baby dolls to African-American girls to build positive self-esteem. Okay, to build positive self-esteem and boost their self-esteem. So this is a great story. I was looking at a number of different articles on this. I posted a couple of articles about this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. And there should be more coverage of it. There should be more interviews with these sisters who did this. So this is a great thing. So we'll talk about this story. Then there was we'll deal with Kwanzaa as well. We'll deal with Kwanzaa also. And today is the third day of Kwanzaa, Ujima. Now, there's another story that we've talked about before here on the show. And I saw an article from the Zen Education Project on this. And this deals with the murder of Harriet and Harry Moore in Florida. And their house was firebombed in 1951 on Christmas Day. And these were civil rights activists in Florida. And Harry Moore helped thousands of African Americans to register to vote. Okay. And they were targeted and the house was firebombed. So we're going to talk about this story as well. This is a little known African American history fact. There's an article from FloridaToday.com that deals with this, and one from Zen Education Project. Okay, there's one from Zen Education Project as well, dealing with the killing of Harry T. Moore and his wife. Okay, all right. So we'll discuss that on today's show, and I'll play another excerpt of the presentation I did on Tuesday, December 27th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, dealing with Kwanzaa. Okay, my presentation was on From Kwanzaa to Wakanda, Reconnecting African Americans to African Culture for Self-Empowerment. Right now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or a woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. All right. The call-in number is 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. So I want to jump into this first article. So I saw one article from BET. I think that was the first article I saw, and then there was a more extensive one from Good Morning America, and Yahoo News picked this one up from Good Morning America. College students hand out over 300 black baby dolls as Christmas presents to boost girls' self-esteem. Now, this is from December 24th, 2021. And it's a great story. I think there needs to be more coverage of it, because if it was something negative about these African-American college students, African-American female college students, if it was something negative about them, it'd be, trending on social media. Now, around 300 young girls in Virginia unwrapped the gift of a black baby doll on Christmas morning, thanks to the generosity of college students who say they want the dolls to represent more than just a toy. They want the dolls to represent more than just a toy. Now, one of the African-American female college students at Mary Baldwin University in Staunton, Virginia, her name is Caitlin Russell. She's 19 years old. Caitlin Russell says, I hope that the girls who we are giving these baby dolls to will take away that their power is limitless. I hope the girls that we are giving these baby dolls to will take away that their power is limitless. I want them to be able to see that they have the power to do whatever they want, she said. Now, for the past 25 years, groups of female African-American students at Mary Baldwin University, was a private university of around 1,500 students. For 25 years, they've organized the annual Black Baby Doll Drive, which collects black dolls to give to girls in the local community. And, it's the holiday season, things like this, but I just think there should be more coverage about something like this, because it deals with the power that images have. It deals with something positive. African-American college students are doing as well. Now, the goal of the drive is to help provide confidence and self-esteem for the girls through the baby dolls, which let the girls see themselves reflected, according to Reverend Andrea Cornett Scott, who's the university's chief diversity officer, who oversees the doll drive. Now, and here's another picture of them also. So all these different types of black baby dolls, they were able to collect over 300 black baby dolls. Now, Reverend Cornett Scott said, we know that there is a clear tie between the achievement gap and self-esteem, especially for black girls. We know that there is a clear tie between the achievement gap and self-esteem, especially for black girls. And oftentimes, African-American girls have problems with self-image because they don't see a lot of images of themselves in the media, and often they struggle with whether or not they're beautiful. And oftentimes, African-American girls have problems with self-image because they don't see a lot of images of themselves in the media, and often they struggle with whether or not they're beautiful. We wanted to make sure we had a program that spoke to their outward and inner beauty, so we decided to do the doll project so they could see themselves in the dolls that they play with, she said. Now, here's let me pull this picture up again here of the college students with the baby dolls that they donated. They were able to raise dolls from professors, from the community, etc. They were able to collect over 300 dolls, but they've been doing this for 25 years. Okay. they've been doing this drive for 25 years. All right. Okay, let's continue here. We're coming up here on the break. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Now, each year, the students who are mostly freshmen and who all live on campus in the Ida B. Wells Living Learning Community, the Ida B. Wells Living Learning Community. Each year, these students collect dolls from professors and staff on campus and from the community. Now, before they start the drive each year, the students are taught about what's known as the doll test. The doll test. And this was Dr. Kenneth Clark and his wife in the 1940s. They did the doll test, and this was this was used as evidence in Brown versus Board of Education. The doll test was a series of experiments conducted by psychologists in the 1940s to test children's perceptions around race. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, December 28th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Now, right before the break, we were talking about this great story out of Virginia, out of Staunton, Virginia, at Mary Baldwin University. And this deals with the annual Black Baby Doll Drive, where African-American female students at this university collect Black baby dolls and give them away to African-American girls in the community. Okay. So this year they collected over 300 Black baby dolls. Now, this is a story from Good Morning America, and Yahoo News picked it up. Also, BET.com picked up this story, as well as Black Enterprise. So I want to go back to this, and then we're going to go to clip one here in just a second, Jalen, that deals with this. So I spent some time doing research on this story, and there was only really one news story that I saw on this. Okay, there was only really one news outlet that actually did a real story covering this. Good Morning America, they put together a little montage of pictures and about a 20-second interview. But there was a local news source, you're going to hear that interview in just a second, that covered this, and that's about it as far as interviews. Now, before they start the drive each year, the students are taught about what's known as the Dow test. Okay, what's known as the Dow test, a series of experiments conducted by psychologists in the 1940s to test children's perceptions around race. In the experiments, the majority of the children assigned positive characteristics to the white dial and chose it over the black dial. Okay, so this is a lot of times we hear about the black dial, white dial test and Dr. Kenneth Clark. But in the test, it wasn't that the majority of students chose the white dial as the dial that they thought was the smart dial, things like this, or the dial they wanted to play with, etc. But the majority of the students assigned positive characteristics to the white dial, but assigned negative characteristics to the African-American dial. And then there was an updated study. I'm going to try to find that clip because I wrote an article about a few years ago, ABC World News on a dial test from a few years ago. I'm going to try to find that article. Now, the study's findings were cited in the 1954 U.S. Supreme Court case of Brown versus Board of Education, which led to the desegregation of schools in the United States. Now, Reverend Cornette Scott says she uses the Dow test to show the students the importance of black dials for kids beyond being just toys to play with. Okay, she uses the Dow test to show the students the importance of black dials beyond being just toys to play with. She said, quote, "I think it really inspires them to consider how young children are when they begin to doubt themselves, begin to look down on themselves, and begin to have lower self-esteem, and to see how important a project this is." Now, I want to go to this clip here. This is from, let me pull this up here just a second. Okay, so this is from WHSV in Virginia. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
There is a clear relationship between cultural self-esteem and academic achievement. That relationship starts in early childhood. The reason why students and staff at Mary Baldwin University are hosting a Black Baby Doll Drive. The drive serves about 300 children locally, and it helps foster a sense of belonging and confidence in children. Student organizers say they know how important it is to have baby dolls that look like you. They say self-esteem starts when you're young, long before you're influenced by social media. They want children to feel like they matter.
Girls, especially, right? When you're in school and you're growing up with all these people around you, and you don't see dolls or toys that reflect you, it makes you feel smaller than everyone else.
The drive will continue until Friday. Any donations can be taken to the Spencer Center on campus.
Okay, so that's from Channel 3 WHSV there in the Virginia area. And the name of that article, they were one of the few, because I looked, and they were one of the few that actually did a story, had some actual audio on this, and actually did an interview. Okay, the student that they interviewed in that piece is, and she's in the article from Good Morning America also. Milana Twyman, who's 19 years old. She was actually interviewed in that piece from WHSV. And that is, I'm going to pull this up here. I think that's Channel 3. Let me pull this up right here. Okay. What is that? Yeah, WHSV Channel 3. there in the Virginia area, in Staunton, Virginia. Okay, so you can check out this article as well. They're one of the few that I saw that actually did a story and actually interviewed one of the students. Local students host Black Baby Doll Drive to foster sense of belonging in children. Now, this article this story is from December 1st, 2021, while they were in the process of collecting the dolls. Now, I want to go back to the piece here from Good Morning America also. They have an extensive article on this. Okay, so back to the piece from Good Morning America. So they talk about the black doll, white doll test, which is an important test, and it deals also with the power of media and how what you read, see, and hear affects the way you think, feel, act, and behave. Now, even in 2021, the students said that finding Black baby dolls in the areas around the university proved a challenge. Okay, even today, finding Black baby dolls around the university, which is in Staunton, Virginia, still proves to be a challenge. What really hit home for me, and what really drove me to do this drive, was the scarcity of the dolls in the community. Okay, and this was trying to see who said this. I hate it when they just refer to people by last name. Russell, I forget who. I have to look and see who Russell was, but I hate it when they're so lazy. But anyway, they're not always at your local market or local store, she said. Now, as I was walking through stores and I couldn't find any, it really truly broke my heart, because I was like, there are girls in this town and they're Black and they're seeing dolls that don't represent them, said Malana Twyman, who's a 19-year-old freshman at Mary Baldwin University. And you heard her in the interview that WHSV Channel 3 did. Okay, she said, as I was walking through stores and I couldn't find any, it really truly broke my heart. It really truly broke my heart, because I was like, there are girls in this town and they're Black and they're seeing dolls that don't represent them. And now they're walking through life thinking, they have to change and they have to alter the way they look. Okay. Now they're walking through life thinking they have to change and they have to alter the way they look. Now, this ties into, during African American History Month, when I do a presentation dealing with, in my presentations for African American History Month, there's one story that I deal with that deals with self-esteem, and it deals with a study that came out. I think I have it in this presentation here. It deals with a study that came out a few years ago that deals with how African American girls do better in school when they. Okay, yeah, this one right here. Let's pull this slide up. There was an article from theroot.com. I'm not a big fan of The Root, but every now and then they do have a good article or two. But let me pull this one up here. Okay, let's go to this slide. So there was an article from theroot.com that dealt with new studies find that positive feelings about Blackness improve academic performance for Black girls. New studies find that New studies find that positive feelings about Blackness improve academic performance for Black girls. Believing that Black is beautiful, an important mantra of self-acceptance and self-love, could pay major dividends in school, a new study finds. Now, this article from theroot.com was based upon a study published in the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education. And that study and that article from the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education focused on a study from Professor Sharita Butler Barnes at Washington University in St. Louis. And this study found that young Black women with, quote, strong racial identity, young Black women with strong racial identity are more likely to be academically engaged, curious, and persistent. So what Reverend Cornett is talking about here and the positive self-esteem these Black dolls build in young African-American girls ties into what this study talks about that was in the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African-American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Kwanzaa is coming, and the KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com, the KwanzaaShop.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com and place your order today. The KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. The KwanzaaShop.com. Welcome back to the African History Network show. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so right before the break, I was talking about this story out of Staunton, Virginia. And it deals with this Black baby doll drive. This Black baby doll drive that African American college students organize, and and they've been doing this for 25 years. Okay, so this was their annual Black baby doll drive, and they give these dolls away to African American girls in the community. All right, and these are African American female college students at Mary Baldwin University in Staunton, Virginia. It's a private university of about 1,500 students in Staunton, Virginia. So they do this each year. And then when we left off, I was talking about this study that I've dealt with in some of my presentations in the past, especially during African American History Month. It's a study that was in the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education a few years ago. And I picked this up from an article from TheRoot.com. New studies find that positive feelings about Blackness improve academic performance for Black girls. Now, an article in the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education focuses on a new study from Professor Sharita Butler Barnes, who's a professor at Washington University in St. Louis. And this study finds that young Black women with strong racial identity are more likely to be academically engaged, curious, and persistent. More likely to be academically engaged, curious, and persistent. The survey looked at 733 African-American middle and high school girls in three socioeconomically school districts, okay, in the Midwest, according to the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education. Now, the name of the study is called Promoting Resilience Among African-American Girls, Racial Identity as a Protective Factor. Once again, the name of the study is called Promoting Resilience Among African-American Girls, Racial Identity as a Protective Factor. And it was published on the Child Development Journal website. And the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education wrote an article about this study. And the study found that feeling positive about being Black or African American, along with feeling supported by their schools, correlated with the girls' greater academic motivation. Researchers also found that feeling good about your racial identity could act as a buffer for students in hostile or negative academic environments. Okay, so this was this article came out January 10th, 2018 from theroot.com. The article went on to say, quote, persons of color who have unhealthy racial identity beliefs tend to perform lower in school and have more symptoms of depression. Professor Sharita Butler Barnes wrote, who's an African-American female professor. She said, persons of color who have unhealthy racial identity beliefs tend to perform lower in school and have more symptoms of depression. We have found that feeling positive about being Black and feeling support and belonging at school may be especially important for African-American girls, classroom engagement, and curiosity. Feeling connected to the school may also work together with racial identity attitudes, to improve academic outcomes. Okay, so read this article here from The Root also. Now this article here is from blackamericaweb.com from June 14, 2012. TV kills Black boys' self-esteem. Because my background's in marketing. I'm a historian, but my degree's in business administration. I have a background in marketing and sales and things like this. Foundation of marketing and psychology. So I've been studying effects of the media for about 30 years now. And one of the first lecture series I did was called The Media's Deliberate Destruction of the African American Family. But in this study here, it said a new, precise, and exhaustive year-long study finds that watching television regularly distorts and ultimately destroys the self-esteem of young Black males, who often find themselves comparing one another to the characters they view on air, leaving them feeling trapped and as if there are, quote, very few positive life paths they can aspire to, end quote. Now, what's interesting is that I read different news outlets reporting on this study. CNN had an article about the same study. And when you read articles on this, they tell you that the only group that gained positive self-esteem, generally speaking, from watching television were young white boys. The article that CNN had on this study, the picture showed a young white boy laying on the floor watching TV, and he had like a cape on, like Superman. Okay, because when you read the study, it talks about the negative images of African American boys, girls, and of white girls, but how white boys gain positive self-esteem, generally speaking, from watching images on television. So this is from June 14, 2012. Okay. Now this is an interesting article here. This was an interesting study. A number of outlets picked this up. Black teens with racial pride do better in school. AfricanGlobe.net picked up this study. African American teens with racial pride do better in school. Now wait till you see the universities. It was two universities that came together to do this study. Wait till you see the universities that did this study. African American teenagers perform better academically when their parents instill in them a sense of racial pride. A new study by the University of Pittsburgh and Harvard University, not Howard, Harvard. A new study, it was new at the time, this came out in 2013. A new study by the University of Pittsburgh and Harvard University shows that when parents use racial socialization, such as talking to their children or engaging in activities that promote feelings of racial knowledge, pride, and connection, like taking them to Kwanzaa celebrations, taking them to African-American bookstores and African-American history museums and things like this, or lectures, etc., historical lectures, things like this. It promotes feelings of racial knowledge, pride, and connection. It offsets racial discrimination's potentially negative impact on students' academic development. Now, this was a joint study by the University of Pittsburgh and Harvard University. Yet you have white supremacists in state legislatures passing bills to suppress what can be taught about history, the history of slavery, white supremacy, and things like this in schools, using the cloak of critical race theory to attack what it is that they don't like about history and things that may make them feel guilty about what's happened in this country. And this was a joint study that the University of Pittsburgh and Harvard University did. All right, so if you go back quickly here to this other articles, we run out of time here. 300 African-American, you had 300 black baby dolls that were collected by African-American college students at Mary Baldwin University. Now, the students said that they took the task so seriously. The students said they took the task so seriously, it almost became a competition to see who can find the most black dolls, which were distributed to over 300 local girls to be opened on Christmas Day. And here's some more distribution of the black baby dolls. Quote, we have astronaut dolls, doctor dolls, a lot of male dominated career paths. It goes even deeper than the surface of the doll because it's representing that we can do so much more than people give us credit for. It goes even deeper than the surface of the doll because it's representing that we can do so much more than people give us credit for. Now, Tiara Jordan, who's a 20-year-old sophomore at Mary Baldwin University, says she found her own self-esteem buoyed or boosted by participating in the doll drive. Tiara said, when you look at dolls and you're giving these young, when you look at dolls and you're giving these young girls dolls and you're telling them your black is beautiful, your features are beautiful, you have to make sure that you yourself believe those things, she said. Tiara said, so it had me plenty of times looking in the mirror, reminding myself, my lips are beautiful, even though they're fuller. My nose is beautiful, even though it's bigger. She went on to say, when I was a kid, my black baby doll had white features. She said when she was a child, her black baby doll had white features. So to see that there are black women going the extra mile and make dolls who have bigger noses and bigger lips and rounder faces, She said it is inspiring, and I wish I had that growing up. Okay, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. African Spirit Cards specialize in the design and printing of high-quality African-centered note cards and stationery. African Spirit Cards breeds and rejoices in the African and African American experiences. They honor our African heritage in all that they do for you by proudly displaying the great motifs and ornamentations of the African world diaspora. They use African images, African proverbs, and many African languages to fully immerse their clients in the wisdom and history of and the connection to Africa. They understand the importance of having images around us that reflect who we are. These images also illustrate where we came from and what we desire to be. They are here to serve you. Follow them on Instagram at African Spirit Cards, that's African with a K. They have a wide selection. Check out their holiday selection at etsy.com/shop/African Spirit Cards. That's Etsy, ETSY. You can give them a call at 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579. You can email them at janeldesigns@africanspiritcards.com. That's JANAL designs@africanspiritcards.com and place your order today.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Okay, so check out the article that I was sharing. And this is from Yahoo. This is from Good Morning America, picked up by Yahoo News. 300 college students hand out over 300 black baby dolls as Christmas presents to boost girls' self-esteem. Okay. All right, so right before the break, we were talking about the one of the students was talking about the type of dolls that she had, black dolls she had when she was a child, and she said that her black baby dolls had white features when she was a child. Okay, now Milana Twyman, who's 19 years old, said that she also wishes she had benefited from having representative black baby dolls when she was a child. She said, it took me a while to love my hair. It took me a while to love my lips and nose. It took me a while to love my hair. It took me a while to love my lips and nose because I didn't have that representation. She said, being able to give that to girls and being able to give them the confidence that they need to go throughout life, I'm beyond happy. Okay, so read this piece here from Yahoo News. All right, now I want to go quickly here to another excerpt of my presentation that I did on Monday, December 27th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. I was speaking at the Kwanzaa celebration. I found out last minute decision, found out that I was speaking there, but it turned out pretty well. And my presentation was called From Kwanzaa to Wakanda, Reconnecting African Americans to African Culture for Self-Empowerment. Let's go back to this clip, Jalen. this information to win some black version of Jeopardy or something like that and see who can memorize the most facts and figures. The information that we take in should bring about behavior modification. This is why our motto is right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. Okay, it should bring about behavior modification. And then when we saw, how many people saw the film Black Panther? The original, just leave it right there. How many people saw the film Black Panther? Okay, so we know Black Panther 2 is coming out in November of 2022. And I've done 3 lectures dealing with the film Black Panther and show how it connects to African history and culture. And at the beginning of the movie, you have the scene where they're fighting at what's called Warrior Falls, where the waterfalls, where they have the fight to see who's going to sit on the throne of Wakanda. It's called Warrior Falls. It's straight out the comic book. And there's a scene when T'Challa's losing, and we know we lost Chadwick Boseman. It was tragic. He passed away from, I think it was colon cancer. But there was a scene where he's losing to M'Baku of the Jabari tribe, and his stepmother, played by Angela Bassett, Ramonda, she yells out, "Show them who you are. Show them who you are." Okay, well, before you can show them who you are, you have to know who you are. This is where our history and culture comes into play. Now, how many people are familiar with Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence? How many people, you're not familiar with Dr. David Imhotep? Oh my God, you get Google his name. When you Google his name, mine will come up also because I've interviewed him probably about 13 times. His first book came out in 2011 on this subject matter, and it deals with the African presence in the Americas dating back at least 56,000 years ago. 56,000 years ago in South America, at least 51,700 years ago in the land we call the United States of America. Now, this is before Native Americans came into existence. Okay, and when you see some of my information, you look at the interviews I've done with them, we go deep into this history. But this is why, even though the transatlantic slave trade happened, this is why, some of the academics I have to correct, because we have to understand the last 50,000 years of history, not just the last 500 years of history. Okay, so yes, the transatlantic slave trade happened, but we have to deal with the history of thousands of years before that. Now, on page 14 of his book, he deals with the discovery that was made in Allendale County, South Carolina in 2004. And I teach online classes dealing with history and things like this. And some of these archaeological discoveries that are coming out every other week, I deal with in the class. Okay, and I say the deeper they dig, the blacker the planet gets, the more research they do, the older we get. Because when these archaeological discoveries come out, they keep having to push the timelines back. They keep realizing all this stuff is much older than they originally told us. But on page 14 of his book, he deals with this archaeological discovery made by Dr. Albert Goodyear, who's an archaeologist from the University of South Carolina. And Dr. Albert Goodyear is derided by the authorities in European archaeology and things like this because his discovery is flipping everything upside down. What he found was 13 different types of evidence fairly documenting an African presence in this country dating back at least 51,700 years. And these were the Khoisan, who have the oldest DNA on the planet. They're the ancestors to the Ainu and the Twa. They go all around the world. They're in southern Africa. They're still alive today, and they were here in this land also. But they found artifacts, architecture, campsites, carvings, Egyptian writings, footprints in lava, genetic M174D haploid groups dealing with DNA and genetics, linguistics, paintings, skulls, skeletons, structures, and tools. Now, I last interviewed Dr. David Imhotep October 12th, 2021. October 12th, we know, is the anniversary of Columbus landing in what he called the Bahamas. And when we look at where Columbus went on his 4 voyages, number one, we all know Columbus never came to the land we call the United States of America. Okay, right? We all know that, right? Y'all know that. That ain't everybody saying. Y'all said Kujichagulia is louder than that. Go look. Don't take my word for it. Proper documentation ends all conversation. I can show you what white historians will show you. Go to history.com, okay? And look up Christopher Columbus. It shows you where he went on his 4 voyages. The closest he came to this land we call the United States of America was Cuba, which is 90 miles away. But he goes into Cuba, Hispaniola, the western third of the island of Hispaniola is where Haiti is. He goes into Puerto Rico, Honduras, Panama. But a lot of the countries that he conquered on behalf of the Spanish crown are still in turmoil today. And we've heard Puerto Rico in the news. We definitely heard Haiti in the news, things like this. They're still in Cuba. They're still reeling from being conquered over 500 years ago by Columbus and the Spanish crown. Now, this article right here, this is just a brief summary of it. Read this article, okay? As one of my teachers, Professor Kabahaya Kamane says, You don't have to believe a word that I say. Go do your own research, okay? Proper documentation ends all conversation. Read this article. New evidence puts man in North America 50,000 years ago. This article is from November 18th, 2004. It's from ScienceDaily.com. ScienceDaily.com is a scientific website. They have all types of scientific discoveries, archaeological discoveries there, things like this. The article is still there because I show this in my classes when I teach. They're talking about Dr. Albert Goodyear's discovery. This is Dr. Albert Goodyear. He's an archaeologist from the University of South Carolina. The summary says radiocarbon tests of carbonized plant remains or artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by University of South Carolina archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear indicate that the sediments containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age. All right, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep going for a couple more minutes. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Be sure to register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. It's right on the homepage of our website. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understand the Transatlantic Slave Trade, and from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register there. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, stand by, everybody. Let me disconnect this call. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about Harry Moore, and then I have to get out of here. Okay, so we have the information here about the online classes, and we're going to have class this weekend. So these are 10-week online classes that I teach. We deal with thousands of years of history, and on Sunday is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We do this Sundays, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. The class is regularly $130. It's on sale $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. You still have access to the full class even after the class is over with. So a year from now, if you want to go back and watch the full class, you can do that. The other class I teach is from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And we do this on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. We have a special bundle pack right now where you can register for both classes for only $70. So that's right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll post a link here for that again, and you can register and start watching the content. You can also use this with your children. I would say the content is PG-13. So it's not vulgar. It's not, I don't do a lot of cursing, things like that. Okay. All right. So we'll post that. And then all my DVD lectures and digital downloads are at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, including my Kwanzaa presentation. We have a bundle pack where you get 4 of my Kwanzaa lectures together. It's like $10 on DVD, and it's $8 on digital download. All right. So we'll play some more of that presentation on tomorrow's show. All right. I want to also, I'll be at the, as I've said before, I'll be at the Charles H. Wright Museum Wednesday, December 29th, Friday, December 31st, and Saturday, January 1st. I'll be in the African marketplace for the Kwanzaa celebration. I'll be a vendor there. Visit theright.org for more information to attend. I think registration is closed, but I'll be there for that. I'm not sure if you have to register to come and shop with the vendors, but I'll have a vendor table there. My DVD lectures will be registering people for my classes also. Visit theright.org for more information. All right, I want to deal with this other story. Now, I've talked about this before, and this deals with Harry T. Moore and his wife Harriet, who was civil rights activists in Florida. There's a good article from the Zen Education Project on this. Okay, And we'll probably talk some more about this tomorrow because it's kind of a lengthy article. Their house was firebombed on December 25th, 1951. December 25th, 1951, Christmas Day. Their house was firebombed, and they were both killed. Harry Moore was killed that day, and his wife is going to die some days later. All right, so if we look at this story here, and Harry Moore also, Florida Today has an article about this as well, because Harry Moore helped to register thousands of African Americans to vote, okay, in Florida. Now, Langston Hughes wrote a poem called Ballad of Harry T. Moore. And in the poem, Langston Hughes wrote, when will men, for sake of peace and for democracy, learn no bombs a man can make, keep men and women from being free? And this, he says, our Harry Moore, as from the grave he cries, no bomb can kill the dreams I hold, for freedom never dies. Okay? No bomb can kill the dreams I hold, for freedom never dies. Now, here's a picture of Harry T. Moore and their two daughters, Harry and Harriet Moore and their two daughters. Now, Harry T. and Harriet Moore were murdered on Christmas Day. It was their 25th wedding anniversary, when a bomb set by the Ku Klux Klan blew their home in Mims, Florida. Harriet Moore was a classroom teacher, and both Harry and Harriet were both civil rights activists. They were both civil rights activists. Now, Harry Moore died on the way to the hospital. His wife, Harriet, died 9 days later, leaving behind two daughters, Evangeline and Annie Rosalia. Now, Evangeline Moore dedicated her life to seeking justice for the death of her parents. Now, a little background information on Harry and Harriet Moore, civil rights activists killed by the Ku Klux Klan in 1951, house firebombed on Christmas Day. Now, back in the 1930s, Harry and Harriet Moore began organizing for the NAACP in Central Florida. They launched a legal struggle that eventually won equal pay for African American and white teachers. In 1941, Harry Moore became president and later executive director of the Florida State NAACP. Now, under their leadership, the NAACP eventually grew to more than 10,000 members in more than 60 branches across the state of Florida. Now, in 1944, Thurgood Marshall won the U.S. Supreme Court case of Smith versus Allwright, which we've talked about here on this show just in the past couple of months. Okay, Smith versus Allwright. This was a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that ruled that all white primary elections are unconstitutional. So, you know, we've talked about this case just in the past couple of weeks, and I deal with this case on my in my online classes also, especially from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And if we look at this, this piece here from history.com, this deals with Jim Crow era laws and suppressing the right to vote. If we look at this here, okay, so this article we've talked about before. In this piece, they talk about Smith versus Allwright, U.S. Supreme Court case. Okay, how Jim Crow era laws suppressed the African American vote for generations. This is from history.com. So they talk about the Mississippi State Convention of 1890 that we talk about a lot here on this show, that legalized poll taxes and literacy tests in Mississippi, and that became the model that other southern states adopted. But then you have all white primaries. Okay. Now, when literacy tests and poll taxes and grandfather clauses, and Louisiana was the first state that had the grandfather clauses in 1898. When literacy tests, poll taxes, and grandfather clauses, and the many other ways to circumvent the 15th Amendment did not work to suppress black voter turnout, white legislators in several southern states used what are called all white primaries to all but eliminate black voters, black voters' presence in the electoral process. In Texas, for example, the state legislature gave the Democratic Party the authority to set its own rules. The party determined that it was for white voters only, excluding African Americans from its elections and effectively making local electoral politics dominated by one party that upheld Jim Crow laws. After a white election official blocked an African American man named Lonnie E. Smith the right to vote in the 1940 Texas Democratic primary, the NAACP's Thurgood Marshall and William H. Hastie challenged the case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1944, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Smith versus Allwright, that's Lonnie Smith as the plaintiff, Smith versus Allwright, that the Texas white primary system was unconstitutional. Okay, this is Thurgood Marshall. The right to vote in a primary for the nomination of candidates without discrimination by the state is a right secured by the Constitution, said the U.S. Supreme Court in its 8-1 decision. Okay, so that's Smith versus Allwright, U.S. Supreme Court case of 1944. Okay, so this is what they're talking about here in the piece from the Zen Education Project dealing with Harry Moore and Harriet Moore. Let me go back to the Zen Education Project. Okay, so in 1944, Thurgood Marshall won Smith versus Allwright in the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled that all white primary elections are unconstitutional. With African Americans now allowed to vote in the real elections, the Moores, Harry Moore and Harriet Moore, organized the Progressive Voters League of Florida, the Progressive Voters League of Florida, and Harry Moore became its president. Now, Florida's voting registration procedures were not as restrictive as those of neighboring Georgia and Alabama, and within a few years, the Moores managed to register over 100,000 African American voters, increasing African American registration from 5% to 31% of eligible voters, of those eligible. Now, their slogan was, quote, "A voteless citizen is a voiceless citizen." Their slogan was, a voteless citizen is a voiceless citizen. Now, for years, Harry Moore traveled Florida's muddy back roads and poorly paved highways, building the NAACP, helping African Americans register and organize the Progressive Voters League of Florida. Now, his wife, Harriet Moore, was a sixth grade teacher at George Washington Public School. Paige Watley Bailey shares a memory from her classroom in 1951. She said Ms. Moore did not complain or express outrage at having to teach us from old tattered textbooks, passed down to us from the white school. What she did was to teach us primarily from the few boxes of her own private books, which she kept hidden under her desk. Her books were about African American people who had made important contributions to the world, people like Dr. W.B. Du Bois and Mary McLeod Bethune. Miss Harriet Moore taught us about the freedom fighters, Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. She read stories to us by Zora Neale Hurston and poems by Langston Hughes. And she shared her Ebony magazine articles about Black history. Now, this learning was deep and personal. It was important because it was about people like us, and it was secret. This learning was deep and personal. It was important because it was about people like us, and it was secret. Now, she didn't have to tell us not to tell anyone about these books. We knew they were dangerous when she appointed one of us to be a lookout person at the window. So if the superintendent of the schools came on one of his unannounced inspections, he wouldn't catch us using them. Now, these books, their physical existence and the stories they told taught me about unspoken truths, secrets, and lies. Now, in addition to voter registration and education, the Moores, Harry Moore and Harriet T. Moore, also investigated lynchings. And this is something that the NAACP did. They investigated lynchings of African Americans to try to get evidence. They also investigated sexual assaults on African Americans, especially African American women. And they investigated allegations that African American men raped white women and things like this. Okay, and this is work that Rosa Parks did for the NAACP in Montgomery, Alabama. Rosa Parks investigated the gang rape of Reese Taylor. Now, in 1949, 4 young African American men, the Groveland Four, who were just posthumously exonerated, were accused of raping a white girl in Lake County near Orlando. At that time, it was a Klan stronghold, okay? And the Klan was all throughout Florida. Remember, Florida, 1923, January is where you have Rosewood, Florida, the Rosewood massacre, okay, in Florida. And they wiped Florida, even though Rosewood was a small town of about 200 people, almost all of them African Americans, they wiped Florida off the map. They actually white people removed Florida off the map. They ran all the African Americans out, killed a handful of them, ran all of them out of town, took their land, and removed Rosewood, Florida off the map. Now, later evidence indicates that the 17-year-old girl had been beaten by her husband, and that they concocted a phony rape story to conceal the beating from her parents, who had threatened to shoot her husband if he brutalized her again. Okay, now this kind of reminds me of Rosewood, Florida, because in the Rosewood, Florida massacre, it was the white woman named Fanny. She was cheating on her white husband with another white man. She lied, and her white lover beat her. She lies and says it was this black man that broke into her house and beat her. Now, she didn't say she was raped by him, okay? But as the story gets told over and over again by drunk white men with guns, okay, now they think that this black man raped her and things like this. And no, it was a white man that beat her. But here's the thing, when you watch the movie Rosewood, and even when you do the research on this, most, especially African Americans, they knew she was lying, okay? Because a lot of people in town knew she was cheating on her husband. Okay, her husband, I guess, was the last to know. So later evidence indicates that the 17-year-old girl had been beaten by her husband, and they concocted the phony story. Okay, now Charles Greenlee, age 16, and war veteran Sam Shepard and Hunter Irvin were arrested for the supposed rape, the Groveland Four. Okay, they were just in the news, and they were just posthumously exonerated. We talked about that here on this show because we deal with like real topics here. Okay, there was a piece from NBCnews.com that dealt with this as well. Groveland 4, the black men accused in 1949 rape get case dismissed. So you may remember us talking about this story here. This is from NBC News. Groveland 4, the black men accused in a 1949 rape get case dismissed. A hearing in Florida to toss the Jim Crow era convictions of Charles Greenlee, Walter Irvin, Samuel Shepard, and Ernest Thomas resulted in a rare finding. Okay, now here's a picture of three of them right here. Three of the boys here. Three of the from left, Lake County Sheriff Willis McCall, an unidentified man, stand next to Walter Irvin, Samuel Shepard, and Charles Greenlee in Florida in 1949. Okay, now this article is from November 22nd, 2021. So we talked about that here on this show. The Groveland 4. So this is who they're talking about here in this piece here from the Zen Education Project. All right, now, Charles Greenlee, age 16, and war veteran Sam Shepard and Walter Irvin were arrested for the supposed rape. The fourth man, Ernest Thomas, managed to flee but was gunned down by a sheriff's posse a few days later. A mob of more than 500 white men assembled to lynch the remaining three African-American boys or African-American men. When they could not locate the prisoners, they formed a caravan of 200 cars and descended on the black neighborhood of Groveland, Florida, where the families of the accused men live. They shot into homes and set some of the homes on fire. The Florida governor sent the National Guard to restore order. Now, Willis McCall, the sheriff of Lake County, Florida, was notorious for his brutality against African Americans. Okay, and Willis McCall was in the picture that I just showed you. Okay. Year after year, he was reelected with the support of the citrus growers, the orange growers, the citrus growers, who he supplied with cheap chain gang prison labor at harvest time by arresting African Americans on trumped up charges for minor crimes. Sheriff Willis McCall also chased any and all union organizers out of the county. Now, Harry and Harriet Moore discovered that while in Sheriff McCall's custody, the three Groveland descendants were brutally beaten and made to stand on broken glass with their hands roped to a pipe over their heads. Despite this torture, they refused to confess to a crime they did not commit. Unable to force a confession, Sheriff McCall's deputies manufactured enough phony evidence to convince an all-white jury. Now, Shepard and Irvin were sentenced to death. 16-year-old Greenlee was sentenced to prison. Okay, so that was Walter Irvin, Samuel Shepard, and Charles Greenlee. Okay, this is who they're talking about. So this ties into the Groveland 4. All right, and once again, see, elections have consequences. This white supremacist Sheriff McCall was elected over and over again by other white supremacists there in Florida. Okay, so this is Sheriff Lake County Sheriff Willis McCall on the left. All right, so go back and read this story that we dealt with back in late November, dealing with the Groveland 4, because all this history is connected. Okay, now Greenlee chose not to appeal out of court, Charles Greenlee, he chose not to appeal. He chose not to appeal out of fear that a new trial would result in a death sentence. Franklin Williams, who was Shepard and Irvin's NAACP attorney, appealed their conviction, and it was overturned by the Supreme Court in 1951. In November 1951, Sheriff Willis McCall removed the two men from prison. While driving them to Lake County for their new trial, he shot them, killing Shepard and severely wounding Irvin. He claims that the two handcuffed and manacled prisoners attacked him while trying to escape. Now, when Irvin recovered enough to speak, he described how Sheriff McCall pulled his car off the road, dragged the two men out, and began firing. Harry and Harriet Moore demanded that white supremacist Sheriff McCall be suspended from office and indicted for murder. No charges were ever brought against Sheriff McCall. Now, with the mob attack on the Groveland 4, the original rape trial, the successful appeal, and the shootings fanning the flames of racism, Harry Moore, let me back up here. Okay. With the mob attack on the Groveland community, the original rape trial, the successful appeal, and the shooting fanning the flames of racism, Harry Moore was called the most hated black man in Florida. Harry Moore was called the most hated black man in Florida. His mother, visiting for the holidays, voiced concern for the Moore's safety. Harry Moore told his mother, "Every advancement comes by way of sacrifice. What I am doing is for the benefit of my race. Every advancement comes with the benefit of sacrifice. What I am doing is for the benefit of my race." Late in the night on Christmas Eve, 1951, a bomb exploded under Harry and Harriet's bedroom. Harry Moore died on the way to the hospital. His wife Harriet died of her injuries 9 days later. And this is, it was on their 25th wedding anniversary, the silver wedding anniversary, that the house was firebombed. There's a picture of a house firebombed by the Ku Klux Klan. So check out this article here from the Zen Education Project, December 25th, 1951, murder of Harriet and Harry Moore in Florida. And then there's also a good article from FloridaToday.com on this story, because we posted this article for the past couple of years. And we've talked about this here on the show before. Where is that one? This one here from FloridaToday.com. This one here. Okay. This one here from FloridaToday.com. Harry T. Moore helped thousands of blacks register to vote. It led to his assassination on Christmas night. So this article is from February 3rd, 2020. So I posted this when this article originally came out from FloridaToday.com. February 3rd, 2020 was the 150th anniversary of the adoption of the 15th Amendment of 1870, 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That was adopted February 3rd, 1870. And it is the 15th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote for African American men. So read this article as well. Here's another picture of them here. So these are civil rights heroes. Here's another picture of Harry Moore, young Harry Moore here. And let me see something. Okay. Okay, so their legacy. So in Florida Today, the article from Florida Today, they talk about their legacy. Now, Harry Moore has been called the first martyr of the civil rights movement, even though many historians use the Brown versus Board of Education case of 1954, 3 years later, as the start of the civil rights movement, the modern day civil rights movement. Regardless of semantics, Harry Moore was the first NAACP official assassinated in the civil rights struggle. Okay, it's 1951. Okay, he's the first NAACP official assassinated in the civil rights struggle. He and his wife were the first couple to be killed for civil rights. It took 55 years before the Moore's killers were named. In 2006, then State Attorney General Charlie Crist announced results of a Florida Department of Law Enforcement investigation that named 4 members of the Ku Klux Klan as directly linked to the Moore's death. The investigation said it found no link between Sheriff McCall and the KKK conspirators, a point that is still debated today. Now, 4 artifacts of the Moors reside in the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. The Harry T. and Harriet V. Moore Memorial Park and Museum is built in their honor at the site of their murders. The 12-acre campus features a museum and a replica of the house where the Moors were killed. Quote, "We see his legacy as one that should be embraced and should be widely known," Gary said. You find very little in history books relating to civil rights about Harry and Harriet Moore, and it's our mission to change that. Okay, so read this piece here also from FloridaToday.com, which came out February 3rd, 2020. Harry T. Moore helped thousands of blacks register to vote. It led to his assassination on Christmas night. That was in 1951. All right. Okay. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me /the AHN Show. We're here 6 days a week, so this helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. Okay, and you can still register for the online courses that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968, in Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. African-American business owners also post name your business here in the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Our current promotion is buy 1 month, get 2 months free. So email us at ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with us. And if you don't have a commercial, 30-second and 60-second commercial, we can create one for you as well. And it will air when we rebroadcast these shows. We'll rebroadcast them throughout the day on our social media platforms. And also in the audio podcast version, of these shows as well. We're on 10 different audio podcast platforms: iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio, Castbox, FM Player, TuneIn. So in the audio, also in the audio podcast, your commercial will be in the audio podcast version of these shows as well. Okay, so at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you register for the online courses. We have the bundle pack, the course bundle. The courses are regularly $130 each. You can register for both of them for only $70. And even after the course is over with, you can still go back and watch the classes anytime. So I'm going to post that information here. And you can join us in classes weekend. We do Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. We do that on Sundays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we did last week. And then on Saturdays, it's from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Each class we go through and analyze about a 10-year period of history and what leads up to, we deal with starting in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase, and then we deal with the Civil War, what leads up to the Civil War. We deal with 1865 to 1877 Reconstruction, Jim Crow era, Great Migration, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, World War I, World War II. All right. Now, if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, also email me at AHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, either in person or virtually, whether it's a Kwanzaa celebration, Dr. King Day, African American History Month, what have you, Juneteenth. Let me know. We can work that out. Okay. All right. We have to get out of here. Remember that at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Kwanzaa is coming, and the KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com, the KwanzaaShop.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com and place your order today. The KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. The KwanzaaShop.com.
iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest Black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Come and travel with me to a time long ago and place far away. You will experience high adventure and excitement. You are fighting alongside an ancient army in fierce battle. Feel the exhilaration of struggle and final conquest. My name is Menenkere, and I am both a prince and a priest in one of the most advanced civilizations humans have ever produced. I want you to ride with me in my chariot as I slay the barbarians who have come to invade my land. I invite you to sit at the conference table with the great Pharaoh Taharka and his ministers as they plan intrigue and use subterfuge to outmaneuver and defeat the enemy. Come back with me to the land of your ancestors, to the beautiful land of Kemet. So open the pages of this book and begin the adventure. Find out what happens in the book Menenkere Battles the Assyrians in the Nile Valley from author Makari Jones. Get your copy today at Amazon.com.
African Spirit Cards specialize in the design and printing of high-quality African-centered note cards and stationery. African Spirit Cards breeds and rejoices in the African and African American experiences. They honor our African heritage in all that they do for you by proudly displaying the great motifs and ornamentations of the African world diaspora. They use African images, African proverbs, and many African languages to fully immerse their clients in the wisdom and history of and the connection to Africa. They understand the importance of having images around us that reflect who we are. These images also illustrate where we came from and what we desire to be. They are here to serve you. Follow them on Instagram at African Spirit Cards, that's African with a K. They have a wide selection. Check out their holiday selection at Etsy.com/shop/African Spirit Cards. That's Etsy, ETSY. You can give them a call at 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579. You can email them at janeldesigns@AfricanSpiritCards.com. That's JANAL designs@AfricanSpiritCards.com and place your order today.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable